and welcome back to another edition of StarSound Speaks. This is your host, Irlianna, episode 103. I'm going to talk briefly about the new moon cycle. I know I'm a little bit late to the party for this one because we had such an action-packed week with everything. And if you haven't had a chance already to check out Asmiana's conversation about India and the COVID crisis, please do, episode 102. Very profound insights about India, and so I think you'll enjoy that. Anyway, very exciting because this new moon is very, I've really been meditating and thinking about it, and we'll walk you through that, and we'll see, what kinds of potentials for transformation are available, because of course, new moons are always the beginning of a lunar cycle, a new expression of our journey through life, the changing circumstances and the peaks and falls and breakdowns and breakthroughs. So anyway, the new moon started at 21 degrees Taurus. So Sun and Moon in Taurus. And Taurus, energetically and physically, Taurus rules the vocal cords, the neck and the neck and the vocal cords. And so with the moon being the divine feminine and how we nurture ourselves, and Venus, because the new moon's in Taurus, that means Venus is the hostess. Venus is the host of this new moon. So we have a lot of very Venusian energy. So the new moon with this very intense, profound emphasis on the divine and the divine feminine. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the personal, how that might look in your own personal life and the collective. So in your personal life, gosh, this would be a great month for, all things expressing oneself. Hey, start a podcast, right? The neck, right? It's like, oh, okay, let's express ourselves by speaking. But it's not just that, it's writing, connecting with others. And you can see that now with the CDC having lifted some of the mandate wearing requirements for wearing masks. We're seeing this, everybody's been so wanting to connect, and slowly, but little by little, we've been, eking out, making our way out carefully. Of course, we always still want to be careful and be in our highest, most taking good care of ourselves physically to, certainly be free of any disease and to be in optimal health. But this Venus new moon, what I really want to talk about is the enormous creative capacity. When you think about Venus ruling the arts, and not just connection, but art and love and beauty and harmony. And so these things are really front and center. The Mercury is, when I look at the new moon chart, and then knowing where Mercury is going to go with Venus, Mercury and Venus are co-present together in the sign of Gemini. So the Venus, we look to see, okay, where's Venus? Venus is in Gemini. So a lot about speaking, the art and the expression would be about connecting and socializing and speaking with others, writing, if you wanted to start a blog or write a novel, or maybe learn a language, so there's all kinds of great opportunities, very favorable for this kind of thing if you've been thinking about writing and such. Food too, maybe you want to start a cooking blog or a cooking show, and or just have fun and socialize and connect with others around food and luscious food. I think Venusian food. What's my favorite? The thing I have to padlock is like the Simple Mills vegan chocolate chip cookies. I got to buy a padlock when I buy that brand, right? Or Miyoko's vegan butter. Oh my God, it's like, right. So this is the month where I remember last year when we had the new moon in Taurus. Man, I got into all sorts of trouble with buying too many cookies. But anyway, then I paid for it because the next month I went on a really big and many months of raw juicing and green juicing and being very good. So I did have my big blowout. So I'm going to be more careful this year, having spent a year being a very good girl in most regards. With my health. So anyway, just to say that certainly our this being a Venus themed moon cycle, with that Mercury overlay, there's about, we can see how, and even dating, I would say, and I think about Venus too, relationships, how we relate with others and collaborate with others, dating for sure, so this is a moon cycle, expressing oneself, clearly and joyfully. That Mercury energy, Mercury's about, he's the trickster, so you can have fun, right? Now, of course, Mercury started its shadow and it's going into, it'll start retrograde at the end of the month, so we get a chance to rethink. So in this lunation with Mercury going retrograde, we're rethinking how we connect with others. Well, certainly we see that out in the world, like I said, but also in our own lives, new attitudes, and maybe the ways in which we thought that things had to be don't have to be that way, that we can carve new pathways. That's what I'm hearing. I've seen these words. Okay, carving new pathways of relating to others. So, having said that, let's see. Education too, Mercury rules education, especially primary education, elementary education and secondary education. With that whole question about going back to school, and there's a lot of things that need to be decided upon, certainly with schools, some people keeping their children at home, others bringing it, forth. I would say this, so this is the last lunation before our solar eclipse. So we are already in the shadow of our eclipse season. I feel it coming around 2 weeks before the first eclipse. So eclipses are like bookends. They're always 2 weeks apart. So we're going to have a lunar eclipse May 26th and the solar eclipse June 10th. So right around now is when we start feeling the issues regarding the Gemini Sag archetypes, qualities coming into focus. So I would say this, especially when Mercury goes retrograde, since Mercury is such a huge component in education and the education of the young, I would say any major decisions that you have to make about that, you should really ponder very deeply during that Mercury retrograde. It'll be a very auspicious time for really going within and really sourcing it on the inner planes. This is what the retrogrades are for, especially with Mercury. So dialoguing with the higher self, connecting on the higher planes. I wouldn't be making any major decisions about, say, where you would send your child to school next year, for example. I would wait, and certainly during an eclipse cycle, you don't want to be making major decisions because the luminaries, the sun and the moon, are turned off. So that's obviously not when you want to be, right? Would you bake a cake with the lights out and there's no power? How would you measure the, the water and the flour and the, such? So this is definitely a right time for moving within. And that there are revealments happening around education. This is a major turning point, obviously, with COVID, and how that the aftermath of all that with children and how they're educated, and certainly our connections in general. But there are things in it, when the sun is eclipsed and when the moon is eclipsed, the moon will be eclipsed by the earth in a lunar eclipse, right? The earth casts a shadow on the moon. So anything lunar, anything related to mothers, our nest, our homes, our families, our environments, all things feminine, how we nurture ourselves. These are the things that the universe will present us with, where there's a blind spot. There's always a blind spot. And so these are showing us where things need to change. So long story short, eclipses, major endings, major beginnings. I'm going to dig deeper into this subject in a next podcast or two. I will get very deep into the lunar eclipse and then solar eclipse as well. But I just wanted to say that this lunation, of course, contains the lunar eclipse in Gemini. So, the lunar eclipse in Sag. It's going to be 5 degrees of Sagittarius. So if you have any planets at 5, I would say between 2 and 8 degrees of Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, or Pisces, this lunar eclipse will definitely have a lot of impact for you. But wherever it falls in your chart is, of course, where this transformation is beckoning. So, and our Gemini, again, our attitudes and our beliefs and our manner of speaking and learning and listening, All of these things are, very Geminian and ruled by Mercury. So with Venus and Mercury kind of being like I think of what's those old movies with Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney. I don't know, for some reason that came over me. And they're like Judy Garland, Mickey Rooney adventures, in those sweet days when things were simpler, seemed to be a more innocent time. But of course, even that's an illusion. But anyway, it's just that fun-loving, mercurial, playful energy. So it's a good time to be connecting with that and seeing, where we could put more of that into our lives. Let's see. Jupiter, as of yesterday, Jupiter went into Pisces, and I had mentioned it earlier. So it's at 0 degrees Pisces now. So for the next 10 days, we're going to get a very, very beautiful look at what is the potential of Jupiter's transit in Pisces, because it's going to be at 0 degrees for 10 days. It's going to go to 2 degrees, and then it'll retrograde. And I think it's July, but it'll go retrograde for several months. And then it'll turn around and it'll be back in the sign of Pisces. It'll be retrograde back into Aquarius. Then it'll turn around and go into a Pisces it's December 28th. It'll go into Pisces and spend an entire year in the sign of Pisces. So when we're in, Jupiter is going to be is going to love this, because last year Jupiter was in its fall in Capricorn. Jupiter wants to expand and unify, and in the sign of Capricorn, it's that Saturnian influence. It was very difficult to make that happen. It took a lot of oomph, a lot of discipline, a lot of focus, it's not the most ideal place, but of course we work with what we have. So Jupiter being in its fall in Capricorn was a very, it was difficult last year to feel that expansion and abundance. It had to happen in a certain way through hard work and discipline and effort. But now with Jupiter going into Pisces, this 10-day window, watch from now to about the 23rd, that 0 degree point is really, it's a critical degree. The 0 degrees will show us the little movie, right? The little preview of coming attractions. And so we'll see how the ideal situation regarding how we unify, how we connect law and justice. These are faith, confidence, hope, and optimism. These are all Jupiterian qualities. And so where this 0 degrees is in your chart, whatever house that's in, that's where we're going to feel that expansion. So we'll kind of get a preview of, let's say it's in your 6th house, you might get a preview of your ideal work environment. If it's in your 10th house, your ideal career. If it's in your, 2nd or 8th house, it could be your ideal financial situation. Of course, the other side of it is where we might be over-promising and over-connecting, or overdoing it, and maybe being a little bit rose-colored glasses, right? That's the thing with Pisces, and we have to make sure that we're really seeing things for what they are, and it could feel a little foggy or uncertain. But we're going to be experiencing all that. So that's why this 10-day window is very important. And even if 1 and 2 degrees, we're getting a taste of what's coming next year. So use that preview wisely. For example, last year when Saturn, the planet Saturn, went into Aquarius at 0 degrees, that was exactly, what is Aquarius? Well, that's when we had social distancing. The word social distancing just came out of nowhere, right? So Aquarius is about society, and of course, Saturn, walls and boundaries. So there you go, social distancing, jijing, and that's when the mask wearing, when we went full bore with mask wearing, social distancing. So that 0 degrees showed us what was going to come when, when Saturn went fully into Aquarius. And of course, here we are dealing with all that. And so now Jupiter's turn, but Jupiter being benefic and the greater benefic, this is definitely a wonderful opportunity. I would say too, with Jupiter being in Pisces, there could be some really ideal creative opportunities coming your way, with Jupiter being about, in the media, or just in terms of an abundance and an expansion of one's hope, faith, and optimism. Creative pursuits. When you think about Pisces, you think about music and poetry, like the ideal, dreamy, perfect, you know, angelic choirs singing, you know, that's like, oh, it's so Piscean, it's so dreamy. So maybe you have a movie screenplay you want to write, or maybe there's a, you know, a dream that you want to pursue, and you'll get a really good feel for that with Jupiter moving into the sign of Pisces. So just wanted to point that out. Let's see. I would say too, with this first part of this new moon cycle, you know, it would, Jupiter is also in the exaltation of Venus. Venus is very exalted in Pisces. So again, there's a heavy Venusian theme to this new moon cycle. And when you think about women and such, and it's making, of course, Jupiter's also in Mercury's fall. So Venus does very well in that Piscean energy, but Mercury doesn't. So Mercury likes data and facts and logic, and Pisces is kind of a dreamy little trip through the cosmos. So, you know, one planet revels in it, the other doesn't. So we're going to be seeing these various facets coming up to be addressed in as we journey forth in our soul's journey here. I would say, you know, right now with Venus, with, you know, Judy Garland and Mickey Rooney bouncing around Venus and Gemini, Venus and Mercury and Gemini, it's kind of like that fun exploratory thing. I feel with them, when we get that full moon, things could be a little more challenged perhaps, because it, you know, we have that full moon lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Sag. So the full moon is, of course, about our instincts and our emotions. So we could have, there may be a little bit of a delay or some kind of setback perhaps regarding that. But again, this is all part of our journey. You know, we're experiencing all facets of ourselves. And I would say too that when we have Mercury and Venus squaring Neptune in this particular lunation, just looking at those degrees, yeah, when Neptune, of course, is in Pisces, and with that square, it could, it's, you know, again, a challenge. It could definitely be about engaging those creative energies, and then we also just want to be certain that we're not deluding ourselves either. So there's always that fine line, you know, when you engage in Piscean energy, it's that dreamy aspect, which is great, but you can also get lost in it. So we keep our heads about ourselves. All right, or at least we try to. Then towards the end of the month, we're going to have this Mars is still in Cancer through around June 10th. So again, making sure, you know, where we want to really be ambitious and set a lot of goals is self-care, taking care of our, you know, I was telling somebody the other day, this is a great time to, you know, order bath salts and take baths, right? Cancer is the home and water. So self-care, and be ambitious and set a lot of goals around self-care and things of nurturing and healing self and of course others, and you know, being that space and being really passionate around healing would be a great Mars and Cancer, a use of Mars and Cancer. Go swimming, be a mermaid, you know, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, the days are getting longer and it's definitely very warm, or about to be for most of the United States at least. And so look ahead and see how you can, I would say, use these energies. You know, if you're going to take those mermaid lessons, here you go. And Venus and Gemini are like, yeah, totally. Let's do it. let's go out there and pull out our inner mermaid or merman, intergalactic being. What all are welcome, right? It's Gemini, man. You know, it's like everybody. Let's express ourselves in every which way. By the way, I have to give a shout out to the LGBTQ community. There's a did you hear about this man? Let me just pull this up real quick. This lovely, non-binary, so it's a wonderful being of light, I'm going to call this person. Their name is in Wales, I think it's in Wales, this a 23-year-old non-binary mayor takes office in Wales, in a historic first. So A beautiful picture of them wearing this black, looked like a velvet dress with this sheer, very Venusian, right, with the sheer top, and the mayoral in the UK, they have those. The mayor wears that beautiful ornate gold chain mayoral necklace. I don't know what they call it, but here is this Owen Hercombe, non-binary, the world's first known non-binary mayor, is only 23, genderqueer and agender, elected unanimously last year, served as a deputy mayor for a year in North Wales. They didn't take office until Monday because of COVID, but they said that it's an enormous privilege to be elected, and 23. You got to look at their pictures; is just lovely, and they have green hair too. So it's like, oh, between the green hair and the mayoral necklace set against their non-binary, their beautiful outfit, celebrating, happy as a clam, just amazing, just a lovely piece of good news. So yeah, this is definitely a time of great transformation, and talk about self-expression, right? Especially this new moon in Taurus. Love, connection, harmony, meeting challenges head on, achieving one's dreams with that square to Neptune, engaging that energy and moving it forward. So I just love that. Anyway, so yeah, Mercury is going to be a retrograde. When Mercury goes retrograde, just flipping over to that for a moment, it's going to be squaring Neptune, like I said. And so there could be some interesting reversals, and things might be in a little bit of a fog, right? Especially with Mercury retrograde and then in its home sign of Gemini. One of the things, though, I will say about in terms of the collective, when I see and feel into the potential of what this this new moon cycle will bring and is bringing is a great healing. Okay, so not only the LGBT community, we see these great breakthroughs, but also this the shadow side of Gemini is youth trafficking. And what are we seeing? The feds are closing in on Matt Gaetz, and yesterday it just was announced. As a matter of fact, when is it? That is, I kept saying, okay, Mars is going to activate that last June's lunar eclipse. Mars is activating that, and okay, let me go grab that paper. Hold on. Oh, it's the lunar eclipse of July 4th. So we always look at a Mars activation for when the potentials are manifested and pushed forward, driven forward when Mars hits that point. Well, that was at the 13 degrees of Cancer, which of course is the degree of our country, the USA. And so this is conjuncting the USA sun. And I said, look around May 15th, May 16th, maybe a couple of days before, you're going to see a big breakthrough. And they're about to indict Joel Greenberg, which was his best buddy. And there's this mountain of evidence with text messaging and all this sex trafficking with a minor that this Florida congressman, Matt Gaetz, is they have not made any arrests, but they have a mountain of evidence, and his buddy was already arrested and is cooperating, and they're probably going to announce a plea deal on Monday. That's the latest. That he is plea bargaining and accepting guilt in exchange, and he's basically delivering Matt Gaetz to the feds. This is what seems to be the situation right now. Now, nothing has been, he has not been accused. Matt Gaetz has not been formally accused with anything now, but it's not looking good. And this guy keeps, interestingly enough, shooting his mouth off and making very, very bizarre, strange comments, which obviously, if you were going to be arrested, probably not a good idea. The woman who was the attorney for Gretchen Carlson in her sexual harassment suit with Fox, where they made that movie, with it was with Nicole Kidman. But anyway, the real life attorney for Gretchen Carlson, they interviewed her on a news channel the other day, and she was saying that Matt Gaetz is like every lawyer's worst nightmare because he won't shut up. So there it is. In the collective, we're seeing what is the potential where this Mercury transit and Mercury retrograde in Gemini and the solar eclipse in Gem Sag. Most importantly, that's that big solar eclipse, June 10th, the lunar in 5 Sag. Sag rules the courts, truth, justice. Gemini solar eclipse, youth trafficking. So you could see a lot of people, people in high places, such as Florida Congressman and Trump. You know, this was hitting his moon in Sag. You could be seeing the fall of a lot of very important people. And just yesterday too, another was the president of Santa Clara University, which is a Jesuit university. Jesuits are it's an order of Catholic priests. And that he stepped down over these allegations of inappropriate behavior. And he resigned from being the president of this college. So again, you know, there it is again. You can see the planets speak through these things, and so Sag, of course, ruling higher education, universities, and such. Fall of grace. Here we are. Welcome to eclipse season. We may be seeing more of this. Certainly more revealings. Things that had been hidden coming to light. So the Matt Gaetz sex trafficking with a minor allegations and evidence mounting certainly is one piece of it. I say this because it's not just a Florida, it's not just a Florida conversation, because obviously that's an international problem. So it's like a sweater that pulls a little piece of yarn and then it starts unraveling, and you start seeing all this underground nefarious networking coming to light. So I think that'll be a major conversation in with these Gem Sag eclipses, is the youth trafficking. I had mentioned it several times before in when I did my webinar last year, when the nodes shifted into Gem Sag, and I said you're going to be seeing a lot of LGBTQ breakdown breakthroughs. You know, we had some transgender laws and biases and things passed in certain state legislatures in the states, and but on the other hand, look at Owen Hercombe, the non-binary mayor. So these energies are all coming to the fore, and the shadow plays out, but the light is breaking through, and eclipses are always bringing lasting change, major endings, major beginnings. Let's see, is there something else I want to mention about the justice system? Oh, I would say too, this is going to be very cathartic for women. Obviously, if Venus ruling this new moon cycle, you know, women are going to, these women would be speaking out, or sex trafficking victims. So I want to say, if you have been a victim of sexual harassment, or had experienced that and had survived and have been in trauma, there is help for you. And you just need to know that everything that didn't happen out of when we had the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, you know, a few years ago, then of course he died, right? There's news of his death, and then many women felt that they were not going to get justice. Well, let me just say that there is more coming, a lot more revealing, and so there is definitely a sense of justice coming through. And even with Jupiter going to Pisces, you know, like the ideal justice being served. These are some of the themes that we'll be seeing. So I just wanted to mention that. And at the end of the month, it's going to be pretty challenging and cathartic, and it could be. So if you are someone who had been involved in any kind of sexual harassment or sex trafficking, or know of anybody who had been in that world, or might still be, who knows? Children of the Night is a great charity, by the way, that is out of LA, and they help sex trafficked children, mostly women, but anybody sex trafficked, and they really stand up. It's a top-rated Charity Navigator charity. They stand up for the kids and get them off the streets and get them back to school and real lives. So it's a wonderful. These are places that we can help and build that light that is wanting to be revealed as a result of these Gem Sag eclipses. But the woman who was that lawyer I was mentioning before that was talking about Matt Gaetz, she said that this is Matt Gaetz allegations and things. This is Epstein level predatory sexual behavior. So like I said, this is about to really blow. I think personally, I think because of where it's showing up in Trump's chart, it's going to take him down as well. And he's, of course, facing many, many other allegations about fraudulent practices in his business and his Trump organization, and all that stuff. So it ain't over. It's definitely moving into this new awareness is coming. And because of this new moon with Venus ruling, we're going to see is a lot of emphasis is on women and justice. So, yay. Finally, right, the healing continues. By the end of the month, when Mars is going to oppose Pluto, it could be a very deep, cathartic breakdown, breakthrough, very deep and emotional, and the capacity to transform. It might uncover a lot of woundings. We want to keep ourselves safe. We want to use that energy, which could be very raw, in a very powerful way that will really help heal our society and our structures of reality where we've held ourselves, but also that will, of course, help the collective. So we'll see it in government, and we'll see it in our own personal transformation, this ability to heal and create the most perfect, through facing these deep fears, we can transform ourselves and create move ourselves forward. We'll just say that. Yeah. But it could be pretty rocky in that way. And they always say, the bigger the breakdown, the bigger the breakthrough. So we might be seeing these big breakdowns in our lives toward the end of this cycle after the lunar eclipse. But again, it's all for our greater good. It's light waiting to be revealed. So anyway, with that, I just wanted to share, and we will be, of course, continuing on. Hope you keep on listening. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for being with us and journeying with us. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Please leave your comments below. How would you like to, what goals do you have and visions do you see for this new moon cycle? It's always great to hear from you. So yay for the goddess, and yay for Divine Mother. When I think of Divine Feminine, this is a really great auspicious month to be holding that deep in our hearts. So chanting the Divine Mother chants, Kali Ma, do whatever, right? Do it, Kali Durga, do whatever you need to do to maintain your strength, and to, regardless of whether you're male, female, non-binary, wherever you are on that spectrum, the divine feminine energy is within all of us, and the energy of receiving and feeling love and harmony and beauty. So yay. May everybody may we all continue to grow and expand in our hearts and in our Venusian ways. So that's my prayer for everybody today. All right, very great. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. This is Irlianna Samsara, StarSound Speaks, StarSoundastrology.com. Thank you all for listening. Namaste.